Reg was on the call last night as needed double overtime, but the Raptors are still alive. Good morning, Reg. How are you?
Luxury, not a necessity. To your question, I think winning a championship, I think most people, especially because, I told you, I have Milwaukee winning the whole thing. I think if they can win it without Kevin Durant, I think that would show a lot of people, Kevin Durant is the best player on your team. He was a luxury to have, but he wasn't a necessity to have to win that championship.
I also think Steph Curry doesn't get enough credit or acknowledgement because he had to sacrifice his game to allow Kevin Durant to fit into this lineup. Because as Steph goes, then everybody else goes. So I think everybody followed Steph's lead. But Steph acquiesced to Kevin Durant to make this a little bit smoother than it probably would have gone with other teams, Reg.
And think about what you're saying. You're talking about a two-time most valuable player who had to take a step back to let another MVP probably grab the reins and be the face of that team. So it shows you the selflessness of Steph Curry and of the Warriors. But I've always said, though, the Warriors are the most dangerous when Steph Curry is on the floor and healthy because teams adjust far differently to him than they would Kevin Durant because as soon as he crosses half court, he's live. And he puts other teams, and especially the bigs, the centers and the power forwards, in very difficult positions on those high screening rolls, as we saw in games 1 and 2, what Portland was trying to do. Are they sagging off? Are they going to show? Are they going to drop? Are they going to hard hedge? Are they going to try to double? It's a nightmare with Steph Curry because he's live anywhere on the floor. And then on top of that, he's running ragged off all those screens. You jump out on them, there's slips. I mean, the assists that Draymond Green is getting, a lot of those are because of the reaction of how they are guarding Steph and Clay coming off those screens.
Talking to Reggie Miller on the call last night, double overtime, Bucks and the Raptors. What was Drake telling the Greek Freak?
Oh, I don't know. But be careful what you say. It's funny because Giannis didn't pay any attention, but Drake was having ongoing conversations with the whole Bucks teams. And it was great theater to watch because, again, being in that situation and having gone through it with Spike, you love when the fans are engaged like that, but just be careful what you read because Giannis had a terrible game. And give all the credit to Nick Nurse and the Raptors. The big adjustment, he was going to start and play more with Kawhi Leonard on the Greek Freak, and they built a wall all night long. And even during those 2 overtimes, every time he was to spin the basketball and get into the lane, he was going to see bodies. And I thought it was very frustrating for Giannis because he couldn't get off his shot, and he was very reluctant to take the outside shot. Struggled from the field, 5 of 16, 0 of 3 from downtown. We know he's not a great shooter. He doesn't trust his jump shot. So 12 points. He did have 23 rebounds, which was very impressive, but it wasn't the type of game that we've seen from Antetokounmpo throughout these playoffs, especially his last 3 road games. He had averaged 37 points, 21 of those points averaging coming from the paint. So a frustrating night for the Greek Freak.
Who's more important to their team, the Greek Freak or Kawhi?
Kawhi. Kawhi is Michael Jackson. The rest of those dudes, Tito, Randy, Jermaine, it's Kawhi. Because Milwaukee, they play 9 deep. And Coach Bud has those guys, I wouldn't say on a minutes restriction, but they know their minutes. So they're well rested. That's why I think coming into Game 4, it will favor Milwaukee because Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard, they had to play heavy minutes last night. And Kawhi playing, even though no one is saying there's an injury, he was clearly affected by something on his leg. And he played 52 minutes last night, and they eked out a victory. So unless they can get some more shooting from Danny Green, from Fred VanVleet, I think Norman Powell was great off the bench. But I mean, if you look at Danny Green and Fred VanVleet, a combined 2 of 20. I mean, that can't happen. Combined 2 of 20 from the field, combined 2 of 14 from 3, and you find a way to win that ball game. So they got big-time efforts from Gasol. Gasol finally showed up in the series and made big shots. But you would have to think in Game 4, because of the depth of Milwaukee, the bad game by Giannis, he has always come back and bounced back after a tough night, that it would favor Milwaukee, but this is why you play the ball games. Right now, Kawhi Leonard, 4 straight 30-point game for the Raptors. The Raptors, playoff record. He's a machine right now.
I saw this story, and it came out of New York Newsday. Steve Popper is the reporter. He said that a person close to the Lakers believes the team hired Jason Kidd as an assistant coach to lure the Greek Freak in free agency. Keep in mind the Greek Freak is under contract through the 2021 season. Now, Kidd coached the Greek Freak for 3.5. So hold on, I'll get to you in a moment, Red. He coached the Greek Freak for 3.5 seasons in Milwaukee. And I guess they have a close relationship. Is there any credence to this story, in your opinion, Reg?
Absolutely not. And I will agree that they do have a great relationship. We called a couple games when Jay Kidd was the coach, and you could see the relationship between the two. Actually helped them get that big Nike deal as well. So I know the relationship is there. But from all indications and everything that has come out of Giannis's mouth about his love and his love affair for Milwaukee and that fan base, I absolutely do not see him ever leaving Milwaukee to go to the Lakers. I could be wrong, but they have built a team that could endure for a very long time in Milwaukee in a small market. And to have a up-and-coming face of the league like Giannis in a small market, it was very much like how LeBron was in Cleveland. He could rule the day. He could rule the East. LeBron is no longer in the East, and he could be the face of the Eastern Conference unless, Kevin Durant goes to New York, and that kind of changes the complexity of the Eastern Conference landscape. But right now, Giannis is sitting on the Game of Thrones, right? So I would never see him going to the Lakers. But I could be wrong. The relationship is there between the two. But right now, Giannis is sitting pretty, and a team that's built around him, a young team, and everyone knows their roles. And he is the catalyst, and he's selfish and unselfish to a fault by finding these guys. It's the perfect team for him.
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I do not. I have not ever watched one episode.
Okay.
But you know what? So much buzz around it. I am going to probably get the box set or try to find it on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. Someone, I'm sure, will be streaming it and start from game one. I do kind of want to see what all the talk was about.
Yeah, I haven't seen an episode either, but I'm going to get around to it. Maybe we could watch it together,
You know what? I would be so honored if you and I could just get some popcorn, some Fritos, and just sit there and just veg out. And let's have all the danettes, and we could just, have a session. That would be so awesome.
Do you have a big TV? I mean,
I do. I do.
What do you have?
But I don't have a TV like what's in the man cave.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Look, that's a setup.
Yeah,
that's a setup we don't have there.
Greek Freak was quoted in a New York Times article 2 years ago. I'm a low-profile guy. I don't like all these flashy cities like L.A. or Miami. I don't know if I could be the same player if I played in those cities. There's also a little chatter that just started to leak out that maybe you could get Kyrie Irving and LeBron together again in Los Angeles if he doesn't end up in New York. How do you think that would work out? Does Kyrie want to follow him?
Heard.
Yeah.
That I have heard. And I think people are always going to allude to that conversation when Kyrie called him during the middle of the season this year and, basically apologize for being a terrible teammate, not listening. So I'm sure people are going to, especially Laker fans, they're going to kind of hold on to that and hope that reunion happens. I could see that. I absolutely could see those two, pairing up in Tinseltown and trying to get the band back together.
Well, but you have the 4th pick in the draft. You can take this Garland kid out of Vandy, who's a good point guard, or you can trade Lonzo Ball, which they might do both of those things. I think there's talk that maybe you get the Bulls involved in a 3-team deal where, Lakers, Bulls, and the Pelicans, and then Anthony Davis somehow ends up with the Lakers. But if you added LeBron and you got Kyrie, got rid of Lonzo and a couple other players, brought in Anthony Davis, you'll get people's attention in the West.
Oh, absolutely. If you put Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Kyrie, wouldn't you have to say they're the odds-on favorite in the Western Conference? Again, I'm not quite sure that New Orleans is going to deal with the Lakers with Anthony Davis. I still don't see that. I just think they're going to be bullheaded, and if anything, ship him out west. And then if he chooses, once his contract's over, to go to L.A., that's on him. I just don't see New Orleans and the Lakers finding any type of viable trade to get Anthony Davis.
Okay, but if I said right now that the Lakers have Anthony Davis, they have LeBron and Kyrie, and they lose all of the younger players, and let's say Golden State loses Kevin Durant,
they're the favorite.
The Lakers would be a bigger favorite than Golden State.
With no Kevin Durant? Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I could find players in the G League to surround those guys. Absolutely, because you just need shooters after that.
Yeah, but the Lakers didn't find shooters, Reg, so why didn't they surround LeBron with shooters the first time around when he needed the shooters?
Well, that would be a Magic Johnson and a Rob Pelinka conversation, because I agree with you. That's the main criteria. If you're going to have LeBron James on your team, you've got to have big men who can stretch the floor, Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, and you've got to have point guards, Boobie Gibson, Kyrie Irving, who can just spread the floor and stay in the corner and knock down shots. That's your job description.
Hey, when we win the Sports Emmy tonight, we're gonna get you one.
Thank you. Win.
Yeah, we're nominated, but when we win, I'm gonna make sure you get one of those Sports Emmys.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous tonight. Seriously. So I'm glad we're off. I'm glad we don't have a game.
I'm gonna let you know.
Our year,
yeah, I'm gonna let you know right after the award is, and I think we might be the second award that's announced tonight. And either way, we're leaving.
I know who's in our category? Who is in our category? Who are we up against?
Rachel Nichols in The Jump. Pardon the interruption. Outside the Lines. MLB Tonight. And I think that's it.
I think our stiffest competition is Outside the Lines and maybe Pardon the Interruption.
Who would you vote for out of those shows? Be honest. If you were judge, and I didn't know who you voted for, and you were looking at the tapes, who do you think you'd be voting for?
I would go with Outside the Lines 1 and Us 2.
Wow.
And Us 2. It's us. It's us. I think it's going to come down to Outside the Line.
Reggie didn't pick us.
I said it's 1A, 1B. It's between us.
Yeah, but we were the B.
That's why I'm worried.
The A was Outside the Lines. If you asked me the best three-point shooter in history,
I know on a couple Michael Jackson songs, that B side, those B singles ended up being like hits. We're a hit.
Reg, when they say greatest three-point shooter of all time, I say you. Even if I don't believe it, I say you.
I've heard a few Ray Allen and Steph Curry come out of your mouth. All right, now, of course we're going to win tonight, guys. But our stiffest competition is Outside the Line. You asked that. Okay. That's who our stiffest competition is Outside the Line.
All right. Enjoy your night on.
I'm not worried about it. Maybe Pardon the Interruption. All those other ones. MLB, Rachel, I love you. We work together, but you're not on our level.
Thank you, Reg.
You're the best, Theodore. Let's go, Sports Emmys. Let's go.
Yeah. That's Reggie. He's right in our corner, almost.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.